Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday.
All of you guys.
Happy Wednesday. Melissa, how are you doing down there? You're down there in my screen. Technically, I guess you're up there from where we live, but you're down there right now. So
yeah, I'm absolutely fantastic. Thanks for asking, Brandon, and thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that Recaro computer chair you got there.
Well, that is
our
You
support.
got to put your 5-point harness on and drift around a little bit.
That's fitting for the pace she's operating at these days. So she might need that seatbelt.
Thank
That's
you.
right.
I need that. Brian, obviously great to have you on. We'll never get tired, never gets old for us to say our new, I don't guess we can say new forever, but our Chief Leadership Development Officer, who has now not only been qualified, but Swananoified, it looks like.
Right.
That is correct. I just wanted to, just show leaders go first at times. And I'm spending my first on-site week here at corporate, and I couldn't help but, get Swananoified. I had to purchase this shirt here. Just has a little bit more muted color from my normal Vineyard Vines pastels, and get this hat going, which it feels very awkward. I've gotten many compliments for being Swananoified, but I just wanted to identify, just make sure that I was kind of my second voice connector was coming out, and I was able to connect with y'all. So I feel it feels good, actually. I'm good with it.
I mean, you look good.
The hat's coming off in a minute, but just
Have you started drinking enough coffee? That's crucial around these parts.
Today,
and the pop. You got the diet
today
pop.
I am celebrating Todd Spivey for introducing me to Boynton. Is that what it is? Boynton?
Boylton? What is it?
Boynton Diet Cola. This is by a landslide the best Diet Cola I've ever had in my entire life. So
You know what the trick is to that?
It's like cane
The lemon.
sugar.
It's the lemon.
Fresh lemon.
Okay.
You got a slice of lemon. Brandon also took them this week to the Village Tavern and introduced them to tiger wings.
Oh man, did you have your first tiger wing, Brian?
Actually, Todd, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but back in the day at a conference, I had gone there and already had a tiger wing. So sorry.
Well, good for you. Getting to go back twice. Tiger wings are special.
They are special.
No doubt.
Not on our Brandon and I's Quality 60 necessarily at the moment, but they're good.
I've been thinking about changing it to the Quality 6. Seems like it'd be a little easier.
Yeah, that felt good. About 6 days in, I was like, yeah, I feel great. Let's go back to Diet Cokes for lunch.
I know. Our Diet Coke button is still turned off, though.
Yeah.
So we're drinking waters and coffees, and
I will say, I am feeling really good.
yeah, I want to hear some stories from people on their Quality 60. Blow up the chat here on the Q&A if you want to. Like, anybody doing anything really unique for your Quality 60? We've got the Gratitudes. Casey, you and I are no sugar. We're actually going through a cleanse, no alcohol for a little while, not the whole 60. Really cutting down on the sugars, exercising. I've been trying to get 2-a-days in. It's the spring.
So yeah.
Sometimes you need to get 2-a-days in.
Get that Costa Rica bathing suit body ready.
Uh-oh.
Oh
no.
Good timing on that Quality 60 for all of us.
I know.
Costa Rica, right?
Exactly. Todd, you been working on your bathing suit body?
I have.
We've been hearing rumors you're going to break out a Speedo. Didn't you hear that, Casey?
I did.
I don't know if it was Melissa that
I don't
told
know
me.
why Melissa thinks this is funny down there. I mean, come on, Melissa. I thought you'd be jumping in there to support me a little bit.
It's a great visual. I might add that in. Great visual.
Exactly.
Right.
Nice. Yeah,
I think she is supporting you.
A lot of good Quality 60 comments, Brandon. Good call.
Oh, hot yoga. Tequila is the best cleanser. Yeah. Now that is my kind of Q6, baby. Q60. I like that.
Yep.
We got some hot yoga. I walk each morning with my 8-year-old. I love that, man. That's awesome. Ooh, the Miranda Martin Masters doing yoga together on Mondays. They have a resident yogini. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Yogini? I think maybe yogi. We'll say yogini. I like that better. Kim Ruiz. Wade says increased water intake, workout every day, already lost 5 pounds.
Yep. That's awesome.
Man.
I like Grant Lieber getting in some pickleball in the evening.
Right.
Yes.
Make it fun.
Grant, we'll have to get you out of the lake house and see how you are on the courts there.
Hey, he's full-blown racket sports, man. # Quality racket sports. He's racquetball, pickleball, tennis. Let's see what you got in ping pong, though, if you want to play our game.
Mhm.
You're not going to burn many calories playing ping pong.
I like Todd Price, airsoft and paintball plus weightlifting. That's a great quality.
It's actually a great idea.
Love that. Swimming at night in the cold water. Also a good one. Melody Baldwin.
Sugar should regulated, not granulated. Now the trip back to 180. I like that.
Wait, I saw a horseback riding one in here. Is that a workout?
I think it could be.
Twice a
I bet
week?
if you ride a
So,
horse,
okay,
you're
there's some core involved.
yeah, your legs, I bet, would be so sore.
Yeah. It's a good groin workout.
So here's a good one. 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, 100 lunges a day.
Like that.
They do 10 at the top of each hour. We should start doing that.
Lost me at lunges. Those are tough.
Yeah, lunges are going to be tough, Todd. But if
I
you're
know.
going to get ready for that speedo, you can't have.
I think it's part of my appeal, though, is just having no muscles on my legs.
I've always liked that about you, I will say.
Thank you.
It is a good look, especially when
Well,
short season comes in.
You know, when my arms are as big as they are, I don't like to intimidate people with my calves and quads,
Yeah.
too.
It's
You
really
can wear
what
your
I'm
shirt
doing.
as your pants. It's also a plus if you ever get it. All right, we should play the video because
Good Lord, we got 52 responses. Yeah, let's play a video or else
Get to our
I'm gonna be
call.
spinning.
We got a big
the
one
gold
today,
down.
guys. Put some text out. We got some great content coming to you today on the call, plus some announcements you want to.
We got some big, I would say big announcements.
Very
In
big.
case you need to work on your promo, you're usually much better at that. Let me give you a second opportunity. Give us your best promo for today's call.
Don't want to miss it. Shoot the text out. Big announcements.
Ooh, that was-
Huge announcements today coming. Plus, look who we have on the screen. Brian Williamson and Melissa Weigel. Stay tuned.
Melissa's team's on fire.
See?
Absolutely.
Casey,
killing it.
that's why you're the best at it,
In the
man.
video.
Why don't you short
All
change
right, guys,
yourself?
let's stop our screen.
We call that veil.
Leadership for women is not this thing we have to earn. It's not a title. It's an inherent power that we are to claim.
Make it count.
The idea behind Connect was really to establish a platform for women where we could share common struggles, common victories, common perspectives, common challenges.
I have been waiting for this my whole life. But while chasing our dreams, can it just be so exhausting?
In an industry that's predominantly governed by men, we want to make sure every woman knows they have a place here where they feel supported, heard, and highlighted.
We come here with our own baggage. We come here with our insecurities. We come here afraid to step into our own power.
Oh my gosh, I just forgot my speech.
And so when we get to connect with other women who are going through that same journey and talk and discuss and develop friendships and have that connection, it makes our journey here so much more meaningful.
Love who you are today and embrace who you're becoming tomorrow.
We want women to embrace their voices, embrace their dignity, and be able to share with the world who they were meant to be before the world told them who they were supposed to be.
Well done.
Man, can I just say that last quote by Whitney was like perfect.
It really was.
She said, connect with who you were meant to be before the world told you who you were supposed to be.
Yeah. So,
Man, that's good.
good job, guys.
Yeah, great job. We got a heck of one lined up for today. How about we hit some numbers? My specialty. Great at reading off names, as I've been told.
Yes, you are.
All right. That was almost a Marlon Faulkner laugh. Did you hear that?
Kind of a mix between Marlon and Nate. Kind of.
All right, let's see. Two great laughs, might I add. You know, would you say two of the best laughs in the company?
Oh, yeah.
Marlon and Nate.
Top five.
I would say Marlon is one of the best laughers that
just
I've
overall laughing a lot and making you feel like you're funny stuff, you know.
I know. I wish I had like a little Marlon on my shoulder going everywhere. I'd have so much more confidence with my joke telling.
Right.
You know? All right.
Infectious, you know, makes everyone else laugh too.
I love that.
It's good quality. I appreciate people like that.
Yeah.
Whether they're one-on-one with you or in a big group, you know, they care about the energy in the room.
He's just really a lifter. He just sent me a text and said, "You are the best name caller ever."
There you go.
I mean, right before I'm getting ready to call all these names, now I feel so much more adequate. I just really, right? You know, Luke Stewart nailed it. I mean, Caitlin Bennett, you had a great week as a new first-time writer. Our number one, Jeffrey Scheme. Could be Scheme. I'm not supposed to know that. That's what I'm saying.
Good job.
Thank you. And let's just go back because I was being funny. But your first week out, you figure out a way to write $12,000 in premium. Can we just not joke around for a second and acknowledge that is really special?
Really good.
Jeffrey, well done. Top 10 producers for the week. Anton Johnson, Sean Pierce. Number one, Nick and Patty, $25,000. It's almost like there's two of them. But they're not like splitting. I want to be clear on that because some people use that as an excuse. Well, yeah, if I had two of me, I could write twice as much. No.
They team up.
They write together.
Pretty cool.
Very cool. 15 apps shows you why. Then Harrison Zipkin. Number one, Brenda Ray Guerrero. 23 applications in a week. Well done, Brenda Ray. Top DI writers for the week. Wayne Simone, $2,417 on a DI policy. Kind of an add-on, if you will. Right? Well, I like that name at number 4, Walkiria. Walkiria de Dios. That's a really cool name. Omar Diaz. What are we at? IUL production. This is some good IUL production, too. The 12s. Top 3s are in the 12s. Sean Pierce, $12,468. Hello. Narrowly beating John White and Omar Diaz. And really, Walkiria. Top annuity producers. I see you, Brandon Ruth. Mike Leidecker. Francisco Coronel. Joshua Maines. $290,000 in annuity volume. Well done, sir. Top DFL producers. Theodore Pritchett. I'm assuming that's Big Theodore, not Baby Theo. Never know, though, with those Pritchetts. They're bright. They start early, finish late. Victor Anthony Arocho, Ronald Walter Williams, and Emmanuel Carlisle Holder. $17,990 on DFL. And the cool thing about that is not only is Emmanuel going to make a whole bunch of comp on that, the client was happier than Emmanuel was when they left. So pretty amazing. Cook sitting at the top of the total recruits. So there's a difference. Total recruits means licensed and unlicensed. Or should I say licensed and non-licensed? I think both would be acceptable. We're going to need a ruling on that. Kevin Purdy sitting at the top by a substantial margin on the directs recruit board with 34. Now, licensed recruits is what it says. Derek Brock and Ashley Tarr tied at the top with 4. Jordan Shank just shy of that. Kevin Purdy, number 1 with 10 for the week on the directs board. Jacob Pogue, Ashley, and Mike and Sarah just shortly behind. There we go. And I'm going the wrong way. I was wondering what was happening. Turns out I was pushing the wrong button. It happens. Some seasoned new agents for the week. Colton Thomas, Stephanie Maria Traylor, Jeffrey Carl Wallen, Shelby Wilson, and Tamara Hart Munich. Well done. Just getting started. Key leaders for the week. Number 1, Sean Pierce. Agency owners for the week. Man, it's tight in that group. Look at the difference between Jake, Phil, Gary, Omar, all right there in the same. Sam Fine, number 1. Samuel Fine, I should say, $38,000. Well done, sir. Agency directors. I see you, Melissa Weigel. Larry and Ann Griffin, number one, though, 74,503. Regional agency directors are tight too, Casey. Man, that's a good picture of the Godfather, isn't it? I think we've updated Tony's picture.
It's really good.
It's a great photo, Tony. $83,836. MVPs. I feel like Mike Pappas just got told a joke. He looks so happy right there, doesn't he?
He's got that good photogenic nature about himself.
He's got a good grill. He likes to show those teeth. I like that. It's confidence. There's Marlon Faulkner. I mean, I'd like to say that this was a close one, but the reigning MVP, marvelous Marlon Faulkner, just kind of took it to the floor. Good week. Senior vice presidents, Kyle and Lisa, great week, $184,476. Executive vice presidents. I got a text from Ryan Miller last night, or maybe it was a couple of nights ago. I mean, they're killing it.
Yep.
1.5 million. What he was shooting for the month. 425,000 for the week. Killing it. Well done. Got some new members on the associate partner board. Matt and Brad Smith, 363,000. You know, when you add both of them, we doubled the board. Did you think about it that way? Really only added one, but 574,000 for Watkins. Still number one. Good job. Senior partners, Edward Pritchett. Great team. Great week, Team Pritchett. 845,000. Marshall Whalen beating you out by about 40 grand. 886,000. Great job, Team Whalen. Way to go. Last but not least on this board, Mr. Kevin Purdy. I predict he's about to go down. On this leaderboard, he's about to shrink. What you gonna do about that, KP?
Problem.
It's a good problem to have when you break out Scott Summers, who I believe is about to enter his third month. I believe he's in his second month of qualifying to become a direct right now.
For it, yep.
I believe so. KP, congratulations, popping out some leaders. Hopefully, getting ready to. We're not there yet. Don't celebrate yet. He said, heck no. Matthews are blowing up too.
Right. Yeah.
I got some great friendly competition in there. Tomorrow, we got a carrier webinar hosted by, I don't know why it's called carrier webinar. It's not necessarily carrier. This week, we got our Chief Leadership Development Officer, Mr. Brian Williams, on one surefire way to activate new agents. Brian, do you want to give a little sneak peek? Do you want to see if you test your Casey Watkins promo skills and see if you can boost attendance at the last minute here?
Well, I thought the title was evocative enough to raise the curiosity, but no, we're going to answer that or give you a little directive on what's one way to do that, and then really go after, practically speaking, what does it look like in your schedule to make sure you're fully present to drive sales through other people. And maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm going to carry people somehow. Maybe I'm a carrier of people. I'll put them in my backpack tomorrow. So no, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be real nuts and bolts, real practical. So
I like it. You got to be careful these days calling yourself a carrier, though.
I feel you.
Yeah. During a pandemic, that's not the wording that we choose. Monday, Mr. Jake Davis, Joel Edelson, and Nicole Fusco on building to sell, selling to build. Love it. And also, we've got Meredith Ellison, Whitney Zay, and Ashley Tarr with a Connect call coming up on April 15th at 2 p.m. So don't miss it. It's going to be good. And now our Thrive Tool of the Week. Sponsored in part by, I got a funny story on sponsored in part by. So Woods is my 7-year-old. You know, he and his buddies, Casey, have been playing a lot of basketball or soccer or whatever, and they've picked up watching sports with us that there's always something sponsored by. They don't really understand what sponsored by is, but we heard him say the other day that their soccer match was sponsored by Charles's Belly Flops. That's his buddy Charles, who does belly flops. So that's the awesome. Soccer match was sponsored by Charles's Belly Flops and Max's new shoes.
That's really good.
Like, man, that's cute. Somebody write that down. Melissa, what you got in store for us?
Well, this week, first off, thank you, obviously, Brian, Brandon, and Casey for having me on today. Just extreme gratitude. So I want to make sure to make that clear that I am extremely elated to be here. And with that, we're going to be talking about SMART goals this week. So it really ties into our topic at hand. So when I got to choose, I've been working with SMART goals for years, and I absolutely love them. So I'm excited to chat about this with everybody today.
Yes. We're
And
excited to have
so,
you.
oops, go ahead. I'm sorry. Is the screen mine for the taking, Brandon?
You can take it. Does that mean I stop sharing and then give it to you?
No, you can leave that up there. It's all good.
Okay.
So first off, the first thing we're going to look at here is when you're looking at SMART goals, we obviously want to be as specific as what we can. You do need to answer the who, what, where, when, and why questions. Who is going to help you obtain this goal? Who is the goal set for? What is the goal? When are you going to accomplish this? Where are the things going to take place? Are you going to be working on your goals doing Zooms or in the home? And why are you trying to accomplish this goal? I mean, that's the biggest piece is why are you here? We're here to help other people. So we want to make sure that that we're hitting all these keys. And when people come in here, most of us are looking for that financial freedom and that time. And so we want to make sure that you're coming in here with a very specific goal in mind, right? And we want to make sure that this is attainable. And so when I roll over to talking about the measurable piece, this is where I really feel that Symmetry does an absolute excellent job of setting what our measurable goals should be. We really need to take a hard look at what our dials, contacts, and appointments are for all new agents. And I'm going to kind of speak to the full-time agents here for just a second. But when Symmetry says, we need to book our 15 to 20 appointments per week, that's going to equate to be about 15 to 20 hours on the phone, or about 450 to 60 dials, right? For you new agents that are out there. And depending on your sitting ratios, you guys, if you're running Zoom or in person, that's going to give you about 10 appointments that you're going to be able to sit on to give you that average of 5 apps per week, which is going to yield that $5,000 in APV. So we want to make sure that when you're looking at goals, first off, you have to be communicating that with your upline, and it has to be measurable. The next thing is attainable. As it states on here, the goals should push you. And I love the fact that Symmetry has set the standard that $20,000 issue paid is attainable on a monthly basis if you follow the system 100% of the time. And I see it happening in my team every single month. The proof is always in the numbers, you guys, and Symmetry does not set goals that are not achievable. And I challenge them to continue to raise the bar. We love it when people are setting the goals and our expectations as high as absolutely possible. Because then if you fall a little bit short, you're still going to reach the goals at that fantastic level that we all want to be at. The number of leads that you purchase, the number of hours that you're dialing, and the number of appointments that you set and are able to run are everything that I just talked about in that measurable piece. And so when we're looking at making sure it's attainable, we have to look at each individual person's situation and go, if you're part-time or full-time, if you're on the builder's track or just on the producer track, that everything that we're setting is attainable, but it also has to be set just that notch above that level. And I challenge you all, if you're trying to hit a goal, you want to make sure that you're setting it at the goal above of what you're trying to hit. So that way, when you fall short, because the numbers don't always owe us, that you're still going to be able to attain and reach that goal that you were hitting for that next promotional level or raise level that you were going for. When it comes to relevant, is this goal worth working hard to accomplish here at Symmetry? Is the goal meaningful, and is it going to help us to reach our overall vision? I love the relevancy here because we're all here because we want to help other people. And so you have to have a goal, and it has to be done in conjunction with others. I'm telling you, nothing here at Symmetry is done in isolation. We are all in this together. We're like a wave that's just moving forward together. And the more we band arms and the more we lock together, the stronger that wave becomes. And so the more relevant our goal setting is, and the more we're doing it with others, when we hit our goals, that feeling of euphoria is there and it lasts for a few seconds, right? It comes and it goes. But when you hit goals and then you set new goals and they're relevant and you get to work with others in tangent with that, that's where that true feeling of accomplishment comes into play. And then timely. When will the goal be accomplished? We have to create a date, a time frame, and a schedule. We have to live by our calendars here at Symmetry. When you're running your own business, we have to know that we can depend on each other on a daily, a weekly, a monthly, and an annualized basis. And so we have to make sure that when we're setting our dials, contacts, and appointments, how are we going to hold ourselves accountable? Who, if someone, are we going to report out to? I'm telling you, when you have to state your goals and your commitments out loud, all of a sudden things become much more clear and they become much more powerful, and you will hit them in a much more timely fashion. So make sure that you're creating your goals and your commitments on a weekly basis so you have those daily targets to hit, and then be checking in with a partner, with your upline on a weekly basis at a minimum to see if you've hit those goals or your commitments. And the biggest part of that is not to necessarily just celebrate the wins that you've had, but to always be doing that constant correction, right? We have to look and go, why didn't we hit the goals? Or we hit them, but how could we improve upon those goals? And I'm telling you, you have to make time in your schedule because people's lives get very, very busy, and we understand that. So as a new agent, I would say I would just challenge you to make sure that everything that you do, you put into your calendar, and that you're reaching out and up to your uplines and to your cross lines to make sure that you have that support that you need. Because I'm telling you, this world is a lonely place and you're not ever going to be lonely here. So use all the people that are around you, and it'll make your SMART goals happen much more easily. So with that, Brandon, I will kick it back to you.
Excellent. Great job.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Love that. You remember setting SMART goals, don't you? Back when you were in the field, especially, right?
Absolutely. And Casey, I forgot to mention when we were talking about Melissa's our talk for the day that you also are in your third month of your direct run, right?
Absolutely.
Man, that's exciting. You gonna nail it?
Oh, without a doubt. I have the best team here at Symmetry. Don't want to brag or anything, but they're absolutely amazing. They are just phenomenal.
I love it. I love it. I can't wait to dig in with you here in just a second. It's good stuff. All right, let's see what else we've got. As we said, there is your exercise for your tool of the week that you can get right from the website there. Love it. Love it. And of course, we got the instruction videos and the supplemental exercises at Thrive 101 course on Quility U. Yep. If you haven't done it, get it going.
We use that SMART goal stuff in meetings, every quarter for the company as well.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Keeping that in front of us and making sure that we're making SMART goals, things that we can measure and inevitably achieve, which kind of brings us to what we wanted to share with you guys for a little bit.
Yeah. We should,
any more announcements.
We should probably get the crew to weigh in on what dumb goals would be. What we need an
acronym for that, right? Let's
make an acronym for dumb goals. Don't clog up the Q&A with it, because I know you guys will be extremely clever. But, I think to kind of start this off, Casey, I will say that it's such an exciting time right now. We were just in our meetings, and Casey and I've got to hop off here in just a little while to go into more meetings. It's one of those weeks we were looking at our calendars, and I think there's a few 5-10 minute breaks, but not much. All extremely exciting stuff. But one of the most exciting things that we were seeing is all-time high in leads out, well over 12,000 leads allocated. And that number is going to continue to stay steady there and grow. So it's almost like it's challenge time. There's generally you get out of a national conference and we've got about 3 weeks and then it just booms, right? It's that time now. Spring break hopefully is behind us, especially for you, Palmer. I know you got clogged up in Florida trying to do a little spring break. Of course, Mark's spring break is he just changes locations where he can hop on Zooms with us. So he changes his background, gets some you had some theme music a couple of times, which was fantastic, but everybody's back. It's time. We have a really exciting contest coming up that we're not ready to announce, but kind of leading into a contest for May, we wanted to announce a couple things as well, Casey.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of on the back of talking about Melissa and so many others in our company, on the run for, I love that terminology that I hear, Brandon, a lot, which is someone's on the run for their AO level or their whatever the contract level they're shooting for. They're on their 120 run. And there's an intentionality around timing, because timing is extremely important in business, as we all know. And so, in a way, I feel like what's happening right now is that we're on a run as a company. And what that means is that as you guys have kind of been filled in on a little bit, especially with conference, is that, we're kind of in a lot of people's view right now in the market, and we're going to be aligning with a capital partner to help us kind of make this next big move as a company. And this is where this 15-20 million plus investment is going to really kind of put us into the stratosphere together. And so the next 6 to 8 weeks, we're kind of on a run. It's very, very important for us to keep the gas pedal down right now. As Brandon said, we got conference in the books, biggest conference we've ever had. We have the most amount of leads I think we've ever distributed in a week, pop this week, more to come because the investments we've made over the last 6 weeks or so, knowing what's kind of coming. We have these things aligning, and I just think that we all have to kind of recognize the timing and the importance of that. And that's why we wanted to kind of mark on for a second just to kind of speak to that. But we want to roll out a contest in May that's going to be really big giveaways. We're still putting the finishing touches on that, so stay tuned for that. But we also, Mark, just got wrapped up with our 2020 years calculations, right? And we're in the middle of the 2021 year as well. So for those of you new on the phone, equity appreciation rights or equity program with our company, where all of you guys who participate in helping us grow this company are going to participate in any sort of good thing that happens to the company along the way, whether that be going public or aligning ourselves with a big strategic partner in the industry or something like that. But we're just bringing you guys into the fold on that. And so for 2020, those calculations, really, we just got those all done, right, Mark?
Yes. Yeah. Thanks, Casey. It's always a lot of fun. And as we've grown and more people are, more excited about what we're doing, the calculations get harder. But like we did last year, right? We look at 2020 performance and see how people did. And then we do a lot of fancy footwork and a lot of fancy calculations. And then in respect to that prior year's performance, we issue sort of gift grants to people that obviously pay off in a triggering event. It's the same story. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of math. And I guess now, you've asked me to sort of right when I'm 99% done, you asked me to sort of pause and change it up a little bit.
Yeah. So here's what we're thinking.
We do that sometimes.
Sorry, Mark. What we're going to do for the next 2 weeks of production in April, for the rest of April, is we're going to count all of your submit and add it on to 2020, which was already calculated as a bonus. Also count it for 2021. Okay, so let's say you did 20,000 of net placed in April, but in the last couple weeks here, you did 20,000 of submit. Then we're going to tack that 20,000 onto your previous 2020 calculation. And we're going to freeze that and throw it onto this 2021 as well. Just your submit. So it's going to be added to your net place production. Am I explaining that right, Brandon? How we decided that?
Yep. So submit matters for the next 2 weeks. And we will be kind of tracking it. So no sandbagging or anything like that. Get your business in. It's much harder to sandbag these days because EAPs and that sort of thing. But and also, we're not going to let you know the details of the contest that will start in May, but just know that it could be important these last 2 weeks, really not counting this week, the final 2 weeks, to what that contest is going to look like. And it's one that you're going to really want to enjoy. But what you do know for sure is that your submit over the next 2 weeks is going to count starting Saturday, right? So you've got, just to clarify it up real quick, I want to give you the exact dates. It is a 5-week turn-in. Don't forget, happy 5-week turn-in, by the way, Casey. I think we're going to break some serious records. I think a lot of people are. Turn-ins of the 23rd and 30th is what we're talking about. So again, no sandbagging. We're going to look at it. We're going to track it. But all of your submit is basically like, it would be double production if you had 100% placement and persistency. So it's better than double production, right? And that's going to go on last year, 2020, and it's going to go on this year, 2021. So there may be people that can squeeze you up into the next category. So that's significant.
It is significant. And, we wanted to incentivize everyone. So that's why we've come up with some contests. That's why we've wanted to announce this EARS credit. But we also just sincerely want to ask for everyone's help just to lean in right now. If you've never pushed, if you've never gone on a sprint, if you've never gone on a 90-day madman cycle, or even if you have, we're just kind of calling all the troops. Like, let's go out in full force right now. It's really critical and can help the company out in a very tremendous way if we not just hit our targets, which we're hitting, but blow past our targets. It's a really, really good thing, specifically over the next few months. So, Mark, we describing the importance of the next few months with enough gravity?
I think so. We're engaged in a lot of partnership conversations, right, to advance the business. And one of them that you asked me to kind of push forward was sort of capital partner conversation, right? Find somebody who sort of thinks like us, walks, talks like we do, has the same desires we do. And we're doing that. We don't need them, but if we got them, you make hay when the sun is shining. The sun is shining right now. And you have great tailwinds. As you know, your submit for the first 3 months were beautiful. I think you broke a net place record in March, and your lead orders and your lead placement volumes right now are 30-40% above norm. So if it was going to happen, you asked me to give you a heads up. This is the heads up. If it's going to happen, this is the time to reset the hurdle. Time is now.
So let's talk about 2 things real quickly. How do you respond to this, Casey, as a producer? A, how do you respond to this? B, as a leader? Okay, so specific kind of hands-on. We've got today's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So if we're talking the next 2 weeks, I think it's critical when we're talking about leads, activity, all of those things. But give me the mindset that I should be having if I'm a producer right now.
Smart goals, like set a goal. And if that's to hit the $10,000 club and you've never hit that, put that as your goal and then work backwards. How many leads do I need to hit that 10,000 comfortably or more? Maybe you've never hit the $15,000 or $20,000 club, the Hall of Fame stuff. So set your target if you're a personal producer on something you've never done before. Get out of that comfort zone, set a new bar for yourself, because the habit that you create in the process is where the gold is. It's not the money that you get from it or the extra credit on the ears or the contest. It's the habits you create from getting uncomfortable in these sprints like this. But for personal producers, it's about setting an all-time high for yourself. And it's really just a combination of 2 things. It's how many leads am I going to purchase? And then am I going to call them like I've never called them before? Am I going to set as many appointments as I've ever set? So if you're comfortable with 15, if that's what your norm is, you need to be shooting for 20, 25. If you're comfortable with 20, 25, shoot for 30, 35. Let's all get uncomfortable on that side of things, but it's leads and activity.
Yep.
Those are the 2 things there. If you're a leader, and everyone, on our calls, generally, probably 90% of you guys want to get a taste of that, waking up every month to $4,000 of passive income. recurring revenue, 6,000, 10,000, whatever the number is. The beauty of where we are as a company right now is that it's very attractive. We're just a tornado of momentum as a company right now. And so you're not just relying on yourself or your team to attract people to you. You're able to leverage everything that's happening in our company right now to attract people to your team. That is, if you're promoting it the right way. So, but it starts with Brandon actually putting the lines out there in the water, getting on the phone, getting your interview count up as high as you can. And that's also going to be extremely critical for the next few months is our recruiting numbers. Yeah. And that will be a component of our contest that we're going to talk about for May is recruiting numbers. So as you guys know, recruiting can be a little bit of a pipeline effect too. I do a bunch of interviews this week, Brandon. The contracts kind of show up over the next week or so a lot of times. And so start to load up your pipeline. You should have never let the pipeline empty. If you have, then you need to start loading that pipeline up right now with good qualified interviews to do every single week. And again, same game there. You just do more. If you can do 5, then just duplicate those efforts and do 10. But it's filling the 2 boxes. How many appointments are going to run and how many interviews am I going to have? If I concentrate on filling those 2 boxes and nothing else, everything else works itself out.
Yep. It's being intentional about what I want. Like you said, SMART goals, you write it down and you hold yourself accountable. I'm going to make more dials. I'm going to buy more leads. I'm going to make more dials. I'm going to see more people. I'm going to sell more policies over the next 2 weeks than I've ever done. That not only makes you a ton of money, it gets you potentially, better ears, it gets you all the things we've talked about. You said it best. It really kind of resets your pace. It resets your believability. It resets just what you can accomplish, right? The new standard, if you will. And I think if you're a leader, I think that's extremely important too. And it starts with, in case you mentioned this, not assuming that the message is heard. I would be calling conference calls with my teams, my base shops, my direct agencies, whatever. And I would be huddling up and I would be making sure that the message is heard loud and clear. And I would be taking more phone calls than ever to help game plan on how can I get more leads? How can I dial more? How can I get more and better results than I've ever gotten before? Because that's what's really going to kind of set the pace for you for the rest of the second quarter. And this is a really important quarter, as Mark has alluded to. This is a really important second quarter.
And Brandon, that component you just talked about, which is it's just good leadership. It's intentional leadership and recognizing that, maybe you have 3 people on your team. I can remember having my very first quick little huddle ups. When I first started building, Brandon, it was myself, my brother-in-law, and 2 buddies. Yeah. None of which are in the business anymore, but they were how I started my team. It's how, and so, but I can remember going around the horn with them every week, but there was an intentional, what is your goal this week? And what do you need to achieve it? But everyone just kind of publicly sticking their necks out in front of the rest of the team was a very important component, and then we would do the math and, collectively, maybe they came up with 15,000 for the week. And, I'm going to make it 25,000. So I stick my neck out in front of them too, leading from the front. I'm going to double y'all up, that kind of thing. But you can do that on such a small level. You can do that on a large level, but it's just, you have to do it with your team. You do not underestimate the power of how hard people will work for the team. We think it's all about ourselves, but I think what most of us have in common that draws us to this business is we like to function. We like to drive on a team together. And so don't underestimate the power of getting your team to set goals and kind of contribute to what your overall production goal is for the week or for the month. So just kind of time to rally the troops,
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes, absolutely.
Stay tuned for the next couple of weeks because we're going to keep sweetening the pot for everyone. All right.
Yeah, we are. Thank you for that, Bud Bigley.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Thanks for being on, buddy.
Yep.
Thank you. Good to see you, man.
I'll see you in 10 minutes. We got an exciting meeting next door, which, by the way, exciting announcement. We had our very first meeting in our new conference room. Casey,
good, man.
Building 1 is in the books almost. I mean, we still got a lot of stuff to work out here.
Take everyone on a tour.
Center.
When you were on vacation, we had our
Oh, you did?
all staff meeting, and I got John to jump up, and he took everyone on a little tour of 104 over here. So it was pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah.
We'll have to give you guys a little tour once we get some better. Yeah, once it gets a little cleaned up. It's still in shambles right now, but it's getting there.
Yep. Mr. Williams, son.
Let's go.
And Melissa. Brian, you before we even knew that we had to schedule this meeting because we've got some out-of-towners that time sensitive and such, you called this conference call. You called this guest and you said, I would like to be involved with this because I think, Brian, you've been working with Melissa a great deal. And so you know a lot of what's been going on behind the scenes and how much hard work has really been put in. And so I wanted to kind of turn this over to you before Casey and I head out. But I think before we do that, Melissa, I would just like for you to spend just a few quick minutes on who you are, where are you, where do you come from? What has kind of prepared you for this 90-day run that I think is about to come to a close here in the next 3 turn-ins, we should say. And first also say how grateful we are for you, how much we appreciate you, all the hard work you put in, the leadership that you show constantly, and the results that you get, because you're getting some pretty massive results. So welcome.
Oh, well, yeah, just was shaking, Symmetry Nation. Like, I am so freaking excited to be here, you guys. And I have to give a very, very prescribed and like a statement of just sheer thankfulness and gratitude, and to pay homage to everybody that's come before me. And that starts off with Keshawn Monteith, Linwood Watkins. I'll never forget that phone call. I'm so glad he put me on his interview schedule. I'm so glad that Linwood 2 days later flew out and met Keshawn and I over in Milwaukee there with Kia Bailey. There were 7 of us in that room. And Keshawn did an awe-inspiring live dial session, and that was fantastic. And Linwood said the famous words to me that I'll never forget. He just said, if you want what I have, you're going to have to do what I've done. And the only difference between you and I is time. And he said, and just don't quit. And I knew right then and there I'd landed in the right place, because Brian, Brandon, and Casey, you guys had inspired a system and a culture of optimism and positive attitudes and inspiration that had trickled down to them, that they were able to trickle down to me, which now trickles down to Jim Russman and Alex Jackson and Karen Reed and to Mark Hammelman and the Fab Seven and everybody in the base shop. I mean, I'm just eternally grateful for everything that you've provided to us. And I'm really grateful that you asked this question, because I want to paint a picture, because not many people really know where I come from. Come from a little town in Spring Green, Wisconsin. Been on this earth for 41 years, blessed to be raised by parents that are absolute workhorses. I compare that to like a Ram 1500 TRX, just go, go, go all the time. I mean, I want to buy one of those so bad. But what happened was their efforts didn't match the pay scale that they were at. It just didn't match. And it landed us where I was blessed and cursed, right, to get to grow up in a trailer park. And so, this might sound like a bit of the makings of a hillbilly song, what I'm about to tell you guys. But I promise you it gets better. But grew up in a trailer park, and there are kind of like 4 main things that really instilled and inspired me to become the person that I am today. And that is, I fell out of a car, not once and not twice, but 3 times while rounding corners, because our car was so old that the doors didn't latch. And I'll never forget, like, rocks in my underwear. My brother's going, Missy fell out the car again. And I learned very quickly to ride middle. Like, hump is not a bad place to be. It's the safest place to be. So I ride in the middle now. My mom tried to tell me one time that she thought Florida was a country. And to this day, I'm still trying to figure out why she thought that. Maybe because it's so far south. Maybe she thought it was part of Mexico. And when you live in the trailer park, it's not necessarily prime real estate. So there was a creepy cemetery right next door. And so, it's fine when you're walking home in the fall and in the spring, but during the winter, it gets dark pretty early. It was about a half mile. So I learned to run really quickly through that cemetery. And what that all led to was, I realized very quickly that if I wanted a house that wasn't on wheels, and if I wanted a car that the wheels didn't fall off, and I knew I wanted to travel to Florida someday, and I was going to have to figure out whether or not I needed a passport, right? And I knew that I love sports and that I was going to want to be able to participate in those, but I had to get good enough grades, right? I had to find an avenue to get out of the trailer park, right? I did not want to be a statistic. And so along the path of my life, I met some really great coaches, right? Some really great people, some people that I consider to have the it factor, right? There's a man on the screen that when you're around him, he makes you feel intelligent and he makes you look intelligent. He makes you feel heard. He makes you feel inspired. He makes you feel like you can do anything, but most off, he makes you feel that he has compassion for you because he wants nothing but best for all of Symmetry. And that man is Brian Williamson. I mean, he has been working with our team. He's been growing us as leaders. And I really did throw in that intelligent piece for me because you got your work cut out for me today to make me look smart, Brian.
And I was supposed to make you cry. No, you're not supposed to make me cry. Thank you so much.
And so, Brian, I mean, everything that you've done for our team and for Symmetry, we're so grateful. And we all meet those people and those teachers and those coaches that come into your life that when they walk into the room, they just make you want to glow. They make you want to go, I can do anything. And they inspire us to do anything. I call that the it factor. Brian and Brandon and Casey naturally have that. Like just listening to you guys talk, I just want to do better. And that's why I say I love the expectations that you all set, because where this led me to is my junior year, my school counselor said to me, you don't have enough money to go to college. You can't go to college. And I said, but everybody else says I can, it says I'm supposed to go be a social worker or a principal or something like that. And that's what I'm supposed to do. And he said, you can't afford it. And then, so what I did is I channeled all those positive people in my life. And I took what he said and I thought, I'm going to prove you wrong, right? I'm going to be one of those people that says, tell me I can't do it. And then I'm going to become a social worker. I'm going to become a school counselor. I'm going to become a virtual school principal and a charter school principal, and then the youngest female superintendent in the state of Wisconsin. That's what expectations create. So when people talk about low expectations, I will challenge that every day of the week. We want to make sure they're attainable. No, we want them just above attainable. Everybody on the screen is just a little bit better than average, or you wouldn't be here. So we have to act like that. And that is what led me to Symmetry. As I hit the top as a superintendent and I realized I don't want to just sit here. There's nowhere else to go. And I'm giving all my time to everybody else's kids but my own. So the cost that I was having to pay was the time with my children. And I realized I had to make a change and make a greater impact for the rest of my life. And that's really what led me here to Symmetry. So I appreciate y'all letting me share my story, but it didn't take too long, but that's starting to paint the picture of where we're going today.
I mean, I have not heard that. And I wish that I had heard that because it's really good.
Yeah.
And more people need to hear that. I think everybody can kind of connect with that, Brian. Like there's a chip, right, from somewhere. Was it because you were told that you weren't good enough or that you couldn't do something or that you weren't going to be able to do something? I've had that. Casey, you've had that when you dropped out of high school, you became a plumber's assistant. Like there's these things that drive you. And I think, Melissa, what you're such a great example of is how do you identify that and use that as a positive versus becoming a victim?
Yeah.
And how do you become that? Brian can probably shed some light on that, because I think most people, the vast majority of people in your situation would not have used that as, the rear view. They would have used that as a speed bump or reasons why you couldn't. Yeah. You used it as fuel why you should. Yeah. And that's the difference between you and a lot of people. And I think that there's a lot of work, obviously, that you've had to put in and go through to be aware of that, to identify that, to use that as a positive. And there's a saying that I love. It's, our past is only there to serve us. Your past has only been there to serve you. So many people miss that, right? And McConaughey said in our interview, Casey, he said, you know, I've never had a chance. I think it was the Texas football coach, and I can't remember his name now, but he went through the story about kind of turning the page. And he said, you know, I've never had a problem turning the page in my life.
Yep.
Most people have a problem turning the page. Most people get stuck in the first chapter and never read beyond that.
Yep.
You know, so I just want to say how grateful we are for you sharing that. And more importantly, for you working to become the type of person that can have such a tremendous impact on so many people, because it's people like you that we're going where we're going because of the hard work, the effort, and the impact that you're making. So very grateful. I'm going to have to tune back in and listen to the recording of this one, Brian, because I hate that we're going to miss it. But over to you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Thank you,
gentlemen.
guys.
And I only have a little bit of FOMO of, you know, not being in the meeting that you're heading into. It's going to be a good one. I'm so excited this week. Having my Swananoa week here has been incredible to see the investment, the direction, all that's going to be happening. So super grateful. Well, Melissa, thank you for your encouragement. Thank you for your story. And as all of you are on the line today, you can see already what your opportunity today is. Your opportunity today is going to be to unlock some of the secrets and practices of what does it take to actually build a high performing agency. So I hope you have a pen. I hope you've got a Word doc open. If you're on your phone, get that little notes app open, because you're going to hear some meat and potatoes things about what does it really look like to actually build a high performing agency. Now, you've already heard from Melissa enough, and you're already leaning in about why should I listen to Melissa. But let me talk about a couple things. Let me talk about a competency piece, and I'm going to talk about a character piece. Okay, so March of 2020, 31 writers, they wrote 117,000 in the base. The Weigel organization as a whole wrote 210,000 and had 201,000 issue paid for a 95.6% issue paid. In March of 2021, in the past year, with our pandemic shift and reality to online, 58 writers wrote 221,000 in the base with 211,000 issue paid at 95.5%. The Weigel organization as a whole wrote 421,000 and had 371,000 issue paid at 88.1%. So leading from results, right? If we want to lean into people who are actually understanding what does it take to actually do this, you didn't need that, Melissa, to have us lean in, because we just can see it in you and hear it in your heart. But that's incredible. Now, if you're asking, how did this organization do that? I want to help pull that out from Melissa, but you are asking a great question. And one of the things from a character perspective that I want to speak to with Melissa is that I actually asked some of her leaders to just give me those qualities that stood out to them about Melissa's leadership. Because there's no doubt, if you spend any time with Melissa in the first minute, you're going to know that you're in the presence of a leader. Okay, sometimes some leaders' personalities, wirings, like it takes a little bit to earn that leadership respect and understand how this person approaches leadership. You'll have about a 30-second delay with Melissa to realize that she's a leader. Now, here are some words. I'm just going to read the list, and it's intentionally repetitive because it came from a number of people, okay? I said, what is it about Melissa's leadership that stands out? And here's what people said: caring, firm, repeatable, supportive, servant, courage, fierce determination, effective communicator, bold, consistent, determined, strong, gritty, dedicated, leads from the front by example, tells it like it is in a clear, concise, and caring way, consistent, caring, loving, giving, positive, strongest person I've ever met, astounding, motivational, inspiring, devotion, leading by example, accountability, and holding the line. Now, it was very, very important for me to read that list because Melissa's nickname is the Hammer. Now, you can talk about that whether you want to. You might not like that I shared that. But the reason I shared that is this. There's no doubt you're in the presence of a pioneer guardian, right? If you know our 5 voices language, Melissa is a pioneer guardian. And whenever you're in the presence of a pioneer guardian, you know it. They bring a lot of gravitas to their leadership. But if you go back and look at that list, and Melissa, I just want to celebrate you and just say, what stands out to people? Certainly you see a good calibration and a balance of support and challenge, but don't miss here what we're about to get into with Melissa around these structures for apprenticing leaders, the high challenge, the expectations. Don't miss that she lays an incredible foundation of care and support for her people. She is absolutely a leader who serves, and that is the essence of leadership, right? And I think leadership is relationship, management is process. She does both well, but it's actually really important. I'm going to probably anchor back a few times because there's lots of support and caring chips in the bank and calibrating of that in Melissa's leadership. So grateful for you. It's been a privilege to work with you and your team. I'm thinking of all of them in my mind now as we're on here. I know they're on this call. So grateful for all of you, Nicole and others that are on that call, Karen and Jim and so on. So just great group of people. So Melissa, let me just start again, just maybe, you talked about your incredible story and your background. Tell us a little bit about your background in the leadership in the education sector and how that's impacted your Symmetry business, right? Because you're coming out of a kind of a superintendent background. Tell us a little bit about that career background and how has that really impacted how you've led your agency?
No, absolutely. And thank you for those kind words, Brian. I'm not a crier, but you're getting me like that close. So, but thank you for everything. Yeah, I realized from an early age that systems worked. And so when I came here to Symmetry, and when I was presented with the system of Symmetry from Kishan and Linwood, it literally took me 24 hours to say, I want to be committed to this. And I have never wanted to quit Symmetry. Some people go through those highs and those lows. I knew no matter how low the lows were, I was never leaving because systems work. Like the police systems work, the justice system works. Well, for the most part, right? There's anomalies and everything, right? But systems do work. And so when I came over here to Symmetry, I thought this is identical to what I was doing in education. It's just instead of selling education, now we get to sell who we are through the means of insurance. And so we have to remind ourselves that Symmetry built the school, right? They gave us the curriculum. And then I equate us to the teachers where we are the teachers where we have to use the curriculum that they gave us and make those lesson plans. And so when you really break it down, like people are buying you, they're buying your dedication and your inspiration and your ways of communication on a daily basis to your team to best get across those points. We cannot forget that Symmetry has paved the way, right? But I've hired many teachers, and any teacher can teach math and any teacher can teach English, right, with those degrees. But there are very few that have that it factor, that they come in and that they possess those leadership qualities that people want to follow. And so I poured that into everything that we're doing here, and it just helped to make it make sense for the people that I was working with.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, that is such a powerful metaphor and image for us to have. Is like we have this, the curriculum is the system, and we have to make lesson plans, and that's true, and that does not minimize the system at all. What it says is that as leaders, we are constantly needing to first of all just understand where the person in front of us is at and help them with their next lesson plan, if we keep the education metaphor. And it takes that intentional communication, unpacking, application. Can you think of an example of what that might look like? So that's an image of taking, curriculum and making it into a lesson plan. Just pick an area of the business that you can think of where you'd say, okay, here's an example of curriculum and here's what I've done to, build a lesson plan, just as one tangible, concrete example for folks.
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. So I would say our new agent startup call. That's a prime example where we get new agents that are coming into this business, and everything's obviously written down somewhere. It's written down on the website. We have all of that. But let's face it, like most people are coming into this business and you can't just throw them out to the wolves, you guys. Like I've never hired a teacher who didn't go through a 400-hour internship, right? Like you have to have some training, you have to have guidance, you have to have support. Many of us came to this business with no background in insurance or being a business owner. So the new agent startup call / builders call envelopes a 6-week series that we follow, because we figured out here within our Weigel Russman organizations that it takes on average about 4 to 6 weeks for people from the day they purchase Exam FX or License Coach or what have you to the day that they're corporate complete. And I'm of the mindset of get the training done on the front end, right? We did that in education. You didn't wait to get your license and then make people wait longer to get the training. So we want to get them trained primarily in those first 4 to 6 weeks. And we wanted it to follow and cover every single facet that was going to be needed to be successful here in week 1, right out the gate here at Symmetry. So we simply meet every Thursday from 9 to 10 Central. The first half of the meeting, we choose specific topics that rotate on a 6-week rotation. Then the second half of that, obviously this business is twofold. So for all of you new agents, do not do what I did and wait for 2 years to start building, right? Like don't wait for it to start raining and then you realize that you want to have people there by your side. We start this right away. So now we do this every single week. We'll either have a guest speaker come in to pour into us, and we're so grateful for everybody that will jump onto our calls and pour into our organization. Otherwise, we're talking about our phone burner platform and how we're building and recruiting in ours to get people, just get their brains wrapped around like this is a twofold situation. I have yet to meet anybody that's in our entire organization that is just here to produce, even though we all come here for the cash, you guys, but we stay for the culture. So you might come in with that mindset, like I'm here to make money, I'm here to do this. Within about 30 days, you're just like, I'm all in, I'm on board, and I want to help others. So you're going to bring more people into the business.
That's great. And one of the things I want to highlight from what you said is just how you don't underestimate what it takes to activate. And when you're new to something, okay, so making a change is one thing. So let's take the difference between change and transition, okay? So I want to make a career change. In fact, I just went through this, right? I just came out of being a CEO of a startup company and a consultant entrepreneur. Lots of different reality than right being in the leadership of Quility, right? So I said, okay, I'm going to make a change. I'm going to make a career change right now. Well, once you decide to make a change, you enter into transition, okay? Transition is what's psychological for people. That's what's difficult, right? Because to make a decision to change, so for those of you that are on the call and you're a new agent, maybe this is your first or second call, and you're questioning, you're going like, I don't know, this is so much. We're like, yes, we realize it is so much. We realize you're in a transition. And when you're in transition, it's important to do exactly, Melissa, what you and your leaders have done, which is to create some very clear pathways for people to minimize that fear or vulnerability that can I learn this or can I not, and to have some quick wins, right? To actually learn along with someone, what is it that I need to do to be successful here? So underestimating what it means to transition is a way that I think will definitely make helping people get activated even more difficult, right? So it's a vulnerable time, and we recognize that, and we want to walk with you and be not just the sage from the stage telling you what to do, but being the guide by the side helping you get there. And you've done that really, really well there. And I love that analogy of lesson plan. So let's talk a little bit. So I know, again, from working with you, that one of the things that stood out was how intentional and how involved you are in apprenticing your leaders, okay? Now, when we use this apprenticeship metaphor, it's one of these times where it does mean what you think it means, right? It's not one of these, it does not mean what you think it means. We truly mean actually walking with somebody and apprenticing them so that they can really learn the skills and the competencies that they need to do the work, okay? So let's actually shift and talk about your leaders, okay? And let's talk about how have you, you have a high performing agency, which means it's not just you have leaders. And what are some of the structures in place for how you've apprenticed? What do calls look like? How do you show up in those relationships? And I think there's so much value that you have to bring there because of what you've learned and how you do that. So talk to us about that.
Okay, absolutely. So The way that we started, it doesn't happen overnight, you guys. First off, I say this all the time, this is a slow cooker, right? And sometimes we bring in people to our organizations, and then we realize down the line that we did not set the expectations right. And I'm going to steal Imelda Koptenek's words that, we do not reserve the right to make any changes to what Symmetry has set in place. We haven't earned the right to make changes. So when people come in to Symmetry, and you've heard Brian, Brandon, and Casey say 20,000 issue paid a month, right? That's where we should be at. But then we bring in new agents, and they'll say to us like, oh, well, I'm going to try to get, 5, maybe 10,000. We instantaneously drop the goal because we don't want to hurt people's feelings. And I said, I am tired of, after 6 months of doing that, watching people cry as they leave because we didn't set the expectations high enough, because I didn't want to have those challenging conversations and push people to start off at their max. When people come in, Brian, it goes back to the SMART goal. We have a lot of people that say, oh, I just bought $100 worth of 5A leads. Well, that's 12 5A leads. And we know on average, we get a hold of 75% of those people. So now you've gotten a hold of 8 out of those 12. We know you're going to book 1 and 4. And we know on average, if those are Zooms, 1 and 2 is probably going to cancel the reschedule. So now you have successfully booked 1 appointment that you have a 50-50 shot of selling, and you're a brand new agent. So now when you don't sell that, you have accomplished your goal of actually losing money. So when you set your standards too low, you're never going to get to the top. You have to come in with the Kishan Monteith jet engine, right? You have to use all of that gas, use all of your funds. I cashed in my kids' college savings accounts when I came here to buy leads. And I was in education, believed more in that than anything. But I knew that I could not then replace that. And now they're going to have over $1 million when they retire. They're grateful I pulled that $1,000 out. You have to be able to do, it's not that new agents don't have enough money. I don't ever want to hear that there's a money problem from not getting leads. It's that you have a mental immaturity for business where you haven't discovered the avenues of which to find the means to get to your end. So you have to come into this with that belief and that attitude within yourself that you can do this because 5,000 other agents have done it. So that is really the attitude that when we're bringing in new people to get them going with our calls, and I can get into more of the calls, but it's that initial attitude, Brian, that new agents have to come in with, and you have to feel that sense of urgency.
Yeah,
or you're going to fall flat.
That's great. Well, now we're starting to get the picture of how that those expectation settings relate to culture, right? Because there was I don't know what general it was, but there was a famous general who said, "What I tolerate in my presence will be the norm in my absence." And so there is a sense in which as leaders, we do set the culture. And if we want to call people up to their highest level, challenging them appropriately is absolutely, if we did an exercise now, and I say to everybody, and if you want to do it, you can play with me, raise your hand as high as you can, right? Then we all do that. Now raise it a little higher. Every time you do that, everybody can stretch a little bit higher. So Melissa, what you're really a master at is, hey, raise it a little bit higher. Now, of course, we recognize that there are people, even on this call, that want to do this in their spare time or part-time, and fully understand we're not saying to everyone that, hey, you are, full-time activated agent. We're speaking to that when we're talking about that 20,000 a month number. But the point is just to call people up to that, and the mindset connection that you're making, the believe you belong, right? That moment, that is such a ticket to the game when it comes to how, I suspect in your story, when you think about how you decided to overcome all of those challenges, right? You made a decision to say, I'm going to be a person that, breaks out of the mold of what I've known. And mindset's a ticket to that game. So absolutely, that's super, super important. So let's keep playing that out because we focused on the agent aspect of that. So let's talk about, so you do get people writing, let me ask a question actually. So how do you approach if people that are giving it their all and they want to do that kind of high performance and production, but they seem to have the right mindset and they're just they're missing it. How do you handle that? That's actually good, because that can be reality, right? People can want it and there could be different challenges. Like, what's your approach to really coaching and working with that person?
Just have to do more. So here's the thing is that, I always tell people that the numbers they're going to extrapolate, they're going to remove all those negative emotions. And the elephant that is always in the room, and I had to face this too when I came here, and many of us still have to face this, is that, staying consistent and committed is the single hardest thing that you will do here at Symmetry. And so as a leader, when you're working with your downline, you have to hold the line. You have to be consistent every single day, because you can be on Zoom calls 99 days. And if you miss that one, it's like, well, remember that one time where your leader missed that Zoom call? So I have missed 0 for my downline. I never miss a call, because when you want to be where Casey and Brandon and Brian are, if we want what they have, they've emulated it with smiles on their faces. They paved the way. They were doing double duty. They were creating the system of Symmetry while doing it, while out there running. Like, we have no legs to stand on to say, oh, I can't put forth that energy and that commitment to make that happen. So it's about falling in love with the process. And sometimes it takes people a year to get somewhere. Sometimes it takes them 3 years. But I'm telling you, when you commit to the process 100%. And so what you're talking about, Brian, is those 99%ers. I call that the pop can theory, where they say, I'm giving it everything. I'm giving it everything. Well, if you stick 99 cents into the soda machine, you still don't get the soda, right? You really feel like you've earned it, but it's where that extra 1% comes in. And all of you that are on this call, that's why you're here, because you're willing to do. We are not average people, you guys. We are just above average, and we're willing to do that to get the results. So I work with teams. I work with all my team leaders and key leaders and everybody on a weekly basis. And we talk about, what are your goals? Are you meeting them? Why aren't you meeting them? And that is where the elephants come out. We just had an absolutely amazing team leader call this morning, where I said, I will not allow what happens in corporate America and in other areas to happen here. We're going to be transparent and open and honest, and you have to be willing to take constructive feedback. And I will be damned to not let that happen, right? We have to be able to just own it.
Let me foot stomp that. By the way, I'm loving the chat. I'm not going to be able to answer all these questions, but one, Daniel's like, hey, I feel attacked. Keep going. Haha, call me out. Well, we don't call people out. We call people up. And also Ziller's like, man, total pioneer, loving it. Now, so let me do feedback, and I want to come back to Ziller's comment and challenge you on something. Which, by the way, it's always fun coaching you, Melissa, because I'm just like trying to constantly find, like, where can I challenge Melissa? Because I know you're so open to feedback, and we've had great conversations. Okay, let's talk about constructive feedback. Because again, now I'm going to call everybody back to, what did I read at the beginning? Because some of you are feeling the heat, you're feeling the volume turn up, and you're thinking to yourself right now, I don't challenge like this, or this is like a different country like Florida. I have no idea where Melissa's, like, this is so foreign to what I do. And I'm going to say, good. I want you to feel that, but I want you to remember the qualities that her leaders, and these are, by the way, I didn't pick on some of your, senior most leaders in that. These are a couple levels down, right? And these are people that are saying positive, supportive, caring, and challenging. So you have those chips in the bank in that foundation. So feedback, oh my gosh, we have to do a better job of being open to those kind of inputs, right? And at times, I think pursuing those in such a way that allows us to have that, environment where we're truly open to feedback. And we're only going to increase, by the way, I've got some exciting things I'll be rolling out over time here that are going to increase your ability to get visibility and understand, how am I doing as a leader? And how is communication in our agency and things like that. So it is super important. That's the place of growth, is that growth edge of being open to feedback. So you again, I just want to kind of foot stomp that, as my Air Force friends would say. Here's a challenge question for you, because I know you have different voices, like every leader does. How do you do with nurturers and feeler personality types? Because maybe I'll play devil's advocate for a minute. I'll say, gosh, Melissa, man, this is too much. Like, you mean you hold the line that hard with every different voice? I mean, do you adjust how you bring challenge and so on? So speak to, this is your emotional intelligence, right? So I'm doing an emotional intelligence check. do you calibrate for different people, or are you, one of the things that was celebrated was your consistency, right, with people. So talk about that. So for people that are wondering, gosh, this is a different approach, feels really challenged, and how you adjust for different personalities, or do you not?
Yeah, I mean, of course we have to adjust for people's different personalities, but it does not mean that I adjust my goal setting or what your commitment should be. That never changes. It's just the approach and how we get there. And everybody knows in my organization that I always say, I will never apologize for wanting the best for you. And the best is what the standards are that Symmetry set forth. They said, here are the standards, implement them. And that is exactly what we do. Again, we have not earned the right to deviate from what they've asked us to do. And so when I think about that and I correlate that with the people that I know, first off, you just have to love people. Like I love my organization. So this starts off as a job, it turns into a career, and now it's turned into a way of life for me that I don't have to work anymore. I get to be a part of these people's lives. And so it doesn't matter what personality you have, they're all different, but I'm just telling you, I will never lower my goals or my expectations for you. I just might handle that a little bit differently, maybe talk a little bit softer. The point still gets across the same. So we do have to make adjustments, Brian, wholeheartedly. And that's just something where, that's what I say to people is you just have to have some tact, people, right? You have to know who you're dealing with. You have to deal with people with integrity and be open and honest, but it has to be constructive feedback. So again, I'm going to be a little bit more gentler with people like a Karen Young or a Lisa King on my team. They are not like a Brooke Fleming and a Mark Hamilman, right? Like I have to be able to, or Jeff, now he's converting from that softer nurturer to more of that pioneer party. So we have all those people that are making those shifts, and absolutely, Brian.
Yeah, man, you got Mark Hamilman, man. That guy's one of the most humble, teachable, emerging leaders in our company, and just amazing to see his growth and watch his respect for you and input that you give him. It's just it's incredible. Okay, so let's go back to your leaders, and then we're going to hit expectations. But let's talk about how do you level up your leaders. Let's not talk about maybe the production side as much, but let's talk about how involved are you? Like, talk about you're involved in their calls and some of the call structures that you have in place. Let's get a little meat and potatoes for like, what does Melissa Weigel do? And again, I'd be listening as you're on this call to high performing organization. What are the practices that you can, or the principles really, right? That you can install practices that make sense for your personality and your agency. But talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I'll cite a couple examples that are going to help this to make sense. So the presence alone of our leaders, Brian, Brandon, and Casey, when they're on the call, instills upon us, like we already know what we have to do. We see them and we instantly want to do better, right? We know what we need to be writing. We know what we need to be doing for recruiting. We know all those things. Just as when you see a cop on the side of the road, we naturally slow down. Their presence alone instills all of the standards that have already been set, if that makes sense. So when you come into this business, you have to set the standards first as a leader. Remember, they've set the standards, but Symmetry can't carry all the weight. That's why they hired us. We're here to carry out the lesson plans and to deliver that in a facet that best suits you and your organization. Every organization has a slightly different culture. So we're just hoping that you take a few of these pieces away and make it work for you guys. But what that means is it scares the heck out of a lot of people. I know it kind of scared me at first. It took me a little while, but I knew I had to commit daily. I know that anything that you do, if you think about it, we eat daily, we drink daily, we sleep daily, we work out daily. We do all these things that are good for us have to be done consistently. They have to be done daily. So Monday through Friday, we decided to, because of Zach's accountability call that he set forth, Zach Little, without him, pioneering that, we would have never started this. So I have to give extreme, thankfulness to him. But so we started an accountability and game planning call. And when you're starting something new, I was the leader, I was the highest ranking one. So I had to set the standards. And what I had to do is I had to find leaders within my organization that I could identify with. I had to find and pluck them and go, hey, you're really good at writing apps. And hey, you're really good at writing a ton of APV. And you're really good at recruiting. And your smile lights up the room and people trust you. You have to pull that out of people and place them in leadership positions. And what happens is when you start to bring them in, you emulate it first. I did it for months. I ran the calls. I created an agenda, but I also, during that time, was plucking my team and asking for feedback. So every single week, with all the leaders that I chose, we do a base leadership meeting. And so that's where every single week I'm getting feedback. How are the calls going? What do we need to change? What do we need to tweak? I learned throughout the last 18 months that the fluff and rah-rah did not work in my organization. People were like, well, we have enough calls. We're so busy. I don't need one more call, blah, blah, all these things. And I said, well, here's the thing is it all starts with the little stuff. It starts with the Zoom etiquette that we created about being positive, using only positive statements, only talking about what's on your calendar. It doesn't matter if your kid's going to dance class. We don't need to hear about that. Money-making activities, keeping your cameras on, being respectful of the time that others are pouring into you. It starts with the small stuff, and then that grows. And so our accountability and game planning call, it ended up saving us. If you want to duplicate a system, you cannot have 80 writers direct to you and be taking 80 game planning phone calls a day. It will drown you, right? And yes, we use virtual mentor. Yes, we use silence. We use all sorts we use everything that everybody's using out there. But I'm telling you, when you have a daily call where they know at 8 a.m. they can get on and have accessibility for all the game plan or all the calls that they made from the night before, and you learn in a group setting, you could have 100 people on that call. You can break it off in as many calls as you want. It's completely duplicatable, and it's an educationally learning platform where everybody that's on it has the chance to learn and grow and watch the leaders. And now they emulate it. So I introduce, just like what you guys do on these calls, the leaders break out, introduce, and then I get to sit back and watch, and I have my leaders running it. But everything that we do, we have written down. There is an agenda and a format and a schedule for every single thing because we don't want to waste people's time.
Yes. So there was so much gold in there. I hope you all caught it. Modeling the way, right? That's from leadership research. As leaders, we've got to go first, model the way. Pulling people, I love to use the word plucking, but pulling out from individuals, what makes them, what are their strengths, what makes them unique, and then pushing them into leadership opportunities to stretch them, but doing it with them and having structures in place which enable them to to enable it not to be all on you as a leader, right? So much gold in everything you said. But I want to talk for a moment about that last thing you just said, which is agendas, okay? Having an agenda and preparing. Look, we've got so many gifted leaders and salespeople, a lot of gifted intuitive people on the call. And, for some, not all of you, but let's speak to those for whom we start talking about that. And like the guardian voice is low, if you know our 5 voices. And it's like, man, I didn't realize you're putting in a lot of preparation, it sounds like, for these meetings. And look, over time, the reality on that is that preparation, right? You want to prepare for your A game, right? No baseball player goes out without a warm up or having practiced for 10,000 hours and so on, and actually preparing well for what they're doing. So as leaders, you can't cheat preparation. And especially if it's newer, you can't, you're going to have to do some hard yards of actually developing things. Now, in this case, hey, you learned from Zach, which is great. And you kind of replicated, you probably made it, enhanced it, added your own touch to it, which is always what needs to happen, right? You've got to put your fingerprints on it. So that part, whatever it is, if you can learn and duplicate and imitate what other people are doing, great. But there is no substitution for actually good preparation, knowing why you're doing what you're doing, and putting that into place. So it's good. And I love that you're, again, alongside your leaders. That's an important point. So just so people are clear, when you're apprenticing leaders, you are on the calls. I do, you watch, you're leading it kind of for them, and then you're letting them lead, right? Taking them around what we call the square. Would that be correct?
That is absolutely correct. With inspiration from you, Brian. Brian, you've been helping lead us for the last 18 months. So watching you.
It's been a little bit, hasn't it? That's awesome. So, all right. So let's, anything else you have on just the whole leadership piece of apprenticing people and those structures that come to mind, or you good there?
Yeah, all I would add into that is this is exactly why we've created these systems. Like Symmetry created it you all are free to reach out. If you don't try and do this on your own. I just spent the last 18 months painstakingly with the base shop and many people coming up with a very simplified version. We've trialed and errored a lot of things. Like, it's something that if you want it, it's shareable and it's duplicatable, and you can take with it what you want and throw out the rest, and leave it be. But it's there now. You don't have to do all the hard work because we've already created it. So I just want to offer that up.
Yeah, that's great. And gosh, with the with the technology investments that we're making in the future, things are only going to get more, in a sense, accelerate your all's ability to really focus on profitability and the activities that you need to, and just have great insights about that. So let's talk maybe just for the last few minutes here, Melissa, around just how does setting expectation raise the bar for high performance? So there was a lot of themes I could have picked for our time together, but how you level up and help people set expectations. We've talked about it a little bit, but maybe talk to us a little bit more about what does that look like for you to set expectations. Maybe you could kind of do a little bit of a role play conversation with yourself on what that could look like to set expectations, why that's important to set high expectations for folks, and so on. So maybe you can speak to that, and then we'll move on.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Brian. So yeah, every new agent that comes into the Weigel-Russman organization is going to be greeted by one of us leaders, where one of the first things out of our mouths is we have very high expectations here in the Weigel-Russman organization. And that's based upon the expectations that have been handed down by Symmetry. This is not the Melissa Weigel way or the Jim Russman way. It's none of that. This is the Symmetry way. And we model that almost to a T, right? And so we want to make sure as people are coming in, I tell them it is my job to help you to be as successful as what you can be. And I always ask people about their work ethics. On a scale of 1 to 10, what are you? Anybody that's a 7 or higher, I just tell them you're going to have no problem blending in here, because it doesn't matter how smart you are or what you've done in your past. We can teach you how to sell insurance. I can't teach work ethics. So if you come in with that, we can then push you to that next level. And so, but the biggest piece is just you have to be honest, and it's okay to set the standards where Symmetry has them. New agents don't come in. We got John Mueller that just came in, brand new agent. His very first month had almost 18,000 issue paid. That's not coincidental, right? Because like 2 years ago, they might have written 2,500. That's because the standards weren't set in place. Anybody can come in and in their first month do 20,000. They can write it, they can issue it. It just comes down to how hard are they going to work? How much are they going to follow the system? So it's nice, the longer that you've been here, the more examples that you have, right? So if you're a newer agent coming in, you're like, I don't have those examples. I don't have that team yet. You have Symmetry. Steal from them. Steal from the big wigs that are up on these screens every single week and use their names, because it's not about you. It's about what can the system accomplish. And so we always have to default back to, I am telling you that people will rise. I hear it week in and week out. Well, my upline did 10,000, so that's what I did. Just like your children, they're going to emulate what you're doing, not what you're saying. So when you're not getting the results that you're wanting, you have to take a good hard look in the mirror and you have to go, is that what I'm projecting? And it's a scary place to be for us leaders, because you have to give it 100% all the time, right? If you want to get to that top place and be where those top people are, you have to have $1 million mindset, but you also have to have the $1 million work ethic that goes along with it, you guys. So you can't just say, I want this. It has to be emulated.
Yeah, that's so good. Gosh, we could go on and on. Let me ask one question that came out as I was listening to you there. What do you find to be the common distractions from consistency? Now, again, may seem very obvious and simple, but because that $1 million activity, right? That's a good book we should write, right? The $1 million mindset, great. $1 million activity level and work. What does that really look like? And again, by the way, there are ways we have a huge value on well-being and balance. So we're talking about work, but we are wired to work from rest and good sleep hygiene and practices of breathing and being fully present and being well. Those things aren't mutually exclusive. I actually feel like, because we've talked about this, because that was I feel like on my first coaching call with you, I challenged you. I'm like, tell me about your rest, tell me about your sleep hygiene, and what does that look like? And I was encouraged, actually. I was actually surprised. And so that's another piece of this, because I guarantee there's some people hearing this in a way of, it sounds like work, 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 work. So all to say, what are the barriers to consistency? What are the distractions from getting people to that, kind of first month, which is incredible for that new writer? Well done, bravo. But what do you end up seeing in people and talking to them about in terms of that?
I guess the biggest piece that I see is that people haven't fully comprehended or understood what their why is. They tend to use what their why should be instead of formulating that into the reason. They use that as the distraction. Well, I've got this other job. Well, isn't that why you came here? Because you wanted to get away from it? Let's work harder here. Well, I've got my kids. Well, isn't that why you came here? You wanted more time and more financial freedom. Let's turn that into the reason as to why you can be successful. And there's always the elephant in the room of people will sometimes, buy the right leads, but it comes down to work ethic. That 4-letter word of you cannot be lazy. You can't say you're going to do something and then only do half of it. You're going to get that 99%, result. You're never going to get that 100% result. So when you come here, I tell people timing is everything. If you're not quite ready, it's okay. But I make people commit 100% when they come in. Are you ready? Because if you're not, it's okay to table this for a month or two. I do not want fluff. I want 100% because I'm going to give you 100%. And our organization is only as strong as its weakest link. And we want to keep everything positive. So we're trying to really encapsulate the 1% to 5% of people that are out there that are really ready to commit wholeheartedly and to realize I've got things to work on. They need to be hungry and humble and coachable and really able to dive in with a group dynamic and go, this is not on me. They have to get out of that mindset of, well, if I fail, this is on me, right? No, like when we fail together. When we win together, right? This is what we do here at Symmetry. So we really try to preach that and instill that from day one so people know what they're getting into. Do not falsify that it's going to take a lot of hard work or, I always say it's easier to know if you're going to get punched in the stomach and somebody tells you that, you can tighten up and you can get ready and you can embrace the suck, right? And so we really talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeah. But I'm telling you, if you put in the time, my line is always, if you just put in the time and if you could see through the lens of which I get to see Symmetry through now, I just want to share that with everybody because it's a beautiful view, Brian. Beautiful.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, what a great place to wrap up our conversation here. I know this could go on and on. You're gonna probably get blitzed. I'm getting all kind of messages blowing up. I want some coaching, or hey, I would love to get some insights. So I'll leave that to people to pursue you. And of course, you're very good at guarding your time. But again, so we have a high performing organization here, high performing agency. We have a leader who is being catalytic with her leaders and their agents to create a high-performing organization. I hope you heard some of the secrets and principles and practices that will help you get there. There's a number of key things in there. I think expectation setting from the beginning, right? Owning this business, understanding every leader on this call is going to have to put your own fingerprints on this, right? Some of you don't come from most of us don't come from an education background. I've seen in the chat some of you that do. That's great. Leverage your strengths. What are you coming out of? Think about how you might take that strength set and apply it to your business. But gosh, we are so grateful, Melissa, for your investment here. This has been exceptional. And we are so grateful. I know many, many people have benefited here. So do you have any final thoughts for us, or are you good?
No, obviously, we just always have to pay it forward, you guys. Remember, this is a karmatic company, and what goes around comes around. Just always be looking at what's best for other people. And I'm telling you, you won't regret it. Remember servant leadership. I'm eternally grateful to Brian, who's brought me along in this journey. And you're embarking upon something that it's unprecedented, you guys. We're setting the bar high, and you're a part of something that is so much greater and bigger than us. So just embrace it and enjoy the ride and have some fun, you guys.
Excellent. Well, thank you all. And I think we're at a wrap point. I don't think I need to do anything else other than say peace out.
You did great, Brian. Thank you so much.
And have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Cheers.